Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us and thanks for being part of our community. My name is Valen Kalika, and I'll be your host for today. A few reminders before we start. If you have issues viewing the stream at any time during the presentation and are using the web browser version of Teams, please refresh your browser. If you're using the desktop app of Teams, please exit and rejoin. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared publicly. We will post the recordings on our community at aka.ms/security-webinars. Closed captions in several languages are available during the live broadcast, and you can enable it by clicking on the CC button located at the lower right corner of your screen. Please feel free to ask questions at any time by typing them in the live event Q&A window by clicking on the Ask a Question button. Be aware that any questions you post will be publicly visible. However, if you prefer, you can post your question anonymously by checking the box right below where you enter it. Now, we often get many questions on these webinars, and we will do our best to respond to all of them in real time. In the event if the answer was not provided, or if you may have additional questions post this event, please don't hesitate to raise them on our Azure Sentinel forum at aka.ms/Azure Sentinel community. We'd love to hear your feedback on how we can improve on these webinars, and you can do so at aka.ms/security-webinar-feedback. And by the way, all the links that I'm announcing have been already shared with you on the chat or the live event Q&A window. I would also like to invite you to join our public community by visiting at aka.ms/security-community. That's the best way to ensure that you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements. On our community, you can speak directly to our engineering teams that create our security products. You'll be able to influence our product designs and get early access to changes by doing things like participating in private previews at aka.ms/security-prp. You can request features, give feedback, review our product roadmaps, register for events, or just simply join on webinars like this. We believe that the best way to improve our products is by removing any barriers between you and the people that create them. So we hope you'll join us. In today's session, Sarah Fender, Yoav Danieli, Julian Gonzalez, and Liat Lisha will take us through Azure Sentinel's new innovations announced at the recent RSA Conference. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to them. Team, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Valen. Let's go ahead and jump in. Trying to get to the correct slide there. There we are. So again, thank you everyone for joining today. I'm excited to talk about some of the new advancements in Azure Sentinel, some of the new innovations that we've rolled out recently. But before we get into those new capabilities, I wanted to spend just a quick minute talking about some of the many challenges that security operations centers are facing today, and sort of how that informs what areas we focus on in terms of new innovations that we're building and rolling out to help you there. So as you guys know, the difficult task of trying to protect your expanding digital estate is becoming ever more complex. The move to the cloud, the mobile workforce having pushed out the border of your digital estate beyond the boundary of your physical network. And that's more true today than ever before with the increase in remote work and online applications following the pandemic. Your data and your users and your systems are literally everywhere. And meanwhile, the frequency and sophistication of attacks is continuing to grow. And regardless of the size of your organization or your industry, you are a target, and we've seen that certainly in the last 12 months. This is presenting lots of challenges for security and IT organizations, and it's something that we think we're uniquely positioned to help you with, and that's why you'll see this kind of continuous innovation cycle where we're continually building new capabilities and refining those within Azure Sentinel in an attempt to help you more effectively address these challenges. So as I mentioned, the last year has really exacerbated many of the challenges that IT security organizations face. The rising infrastructure costs and upfront investment continue to be a challenge as more data is being generated and more of that data is being generated in the cloud. Piping all of that data into on-premises legacy SIEM solutions is becoming complex and quite expensive. Not only do organizations have to deal with the storage of these large volumes of data, but we want to run more analytics on top of that data, which requires increasing volumes of compute resources as well. I talked a little bit about the sophistication of threats, but boy, we just have really seen that this year with SolarGate in particular, and demonstrating the sophistication, the ability for an attacker to sit and be active in a large number of organizations for a very long period of time. The need now to be able to work effectively across remote SOC teams is one that we've seen and really does inform some of the investments that we're making. For example, Liat's going to talk to you about the Teams integration that we have today, and that in particular is designed to help SOC organizations to collaborate more effectively. So lots of challenges exist and really are just becoming more complex over this last year. But we really do believe that Azure Sentinel is positioned to help you address many of these and will continue to do so in the future. First and foremost, by just providing you with this insight that you need, the visibility across your entire organization, the ability to bring in all of this data, to run analytics on top of it, and really to derive meaningful insights that you can use to respond quickly to attacks. So that starts, of course, first and foremost with just bringing in all of that data, and you'll see a number of investments in scaling out the number of data connectors and solutions designed to help you bring in data at cloud scale and to enable you to get value on top of that data quickly. Certainly continuing to leverage AI and ML, and we've got some important new capabilities there with anomalies that you'll see. Just one of the many investments that we're making to apply AI and advanced analytics like ML to help you more effectively detect threats and reduce the volume of noise. And then finally, continuing investments and capabilities that help you to respond quickly through orchestration and automation. Just a quick note, if you haven't seen, we're very proud that Azure Sentinel, I'm having just a bit of a challenge advancing the slides here. Try to go back. There we go. My mouse is acting a little bit wonky. So just wanted to take a quick moment to highlight the recent Azure Sentinel placement in the Forrester Security Analytics Wave. We're super proud that in our first year to be included in the wave that Microsoft was positioned as a leader. And again, we think really speaks to the innovation that we're driving in the SIEM market. You can sort of see the quote here that they're saying that Microsoft is roaring into the security analytics market and highlighting not only our cloud capabilities, our integration with Microsoft, Azure and Office 365 technologies, and a variety of other capabilities that are being built into Azure Sentinel. So just wanted to mention that as it's a relatively new and I think really is something that we're proud of and speaks to, again, the kind of strong level of innovation that we continue to drive into the product. So key investment areas on the roadmap, first and foremost, is being able to enable you to help protect your multi-cloud and multi-platform and hybrid environments. So just have been on a journey over the last year to rapidly scale out the number of data sources that you can easily bring into Azure Sentinel. And these are not only Microsoft 365 and Azure sources, which you can enable in a single click, but this also includes the ability to bring in data from AWS and from Google and from on-premises platforms and cloud applications. And Yoav's going to talk a little bit about some new innovation that will enable you to monitor your SAP data sources. So really just thinking about your entire digital estate and how we can make it even easier for you to bring that to data into Sentinel and to begin to easily enable security monitoring and threat detection on top of those data sources. Second is around AI and ML, which I've mentioned before, but helping you to detect sophisticated threats and to reduce the noise that exists from this variety of signals that you're bringing in. And finally, empowering security operations teams to be more effective in their work, and their teams is one new capability that we believe will help you to do that. So I'm going to start with a little bit of an introduction into a new concept in Azure Sentinel, which we call Azure Sentinel Solutions. So there's a new blade in Azure Sentinel. You can see that in the screenshot here on the left, kind of a bit toward the bottom. And this provides a single place where you can discover packages of value for Azure Sentinel. So you can go here and see a growing collection of solutions, which can include a combination of data connectors, workbooks, analytics rules for detections, and this list will continue to grow out to expand over time. So you can here easily discover new use cases or new packages of value for Azure Sentinel, and you can more easily deploy them. So today we have all of this value in the data connectors gallery, and you can find analytic rules in the analytics experience. But here we bring all of that together so that you can easily discover and then deploy this packaged value for Azure Sentinel. And so we launched this with 32, I think, new solutions, and you'll see this list of solutions continue to expand rapidly over time. So these can be both first-party and third-party solutions, so Microsoft solutions, as well as solutions that are designed to help you get value out of third-party solutions or technologies as well. Just a couple of quick examples I'll give is, there's a Palo Alto Prisma and Cloudflare solutions that give you visibility into cloud workloads, threat intelligence solutions from RiskIQ and Reversing Labs to help you enrich threat detection, hunting, and response with threat intelligence data sources, Azure SQL and Oracle database audit solutions to monitor for database anomalies, and much, much more. And again, you will see this the solutions marketplace grow and expand over time, but starting with a good package, a good set of value-add solutions for Sentinel. So again, you can discover that solutions marketplace in the left navigation. You can search or scroll through the list of available solutions. When you find a solution, the simple wizard will take you through the process of deploying the solution and all of the related content. So again, in the past, you might have had to go to the workbooks experience or to the analytics experience to gain access to the content related to Cisco Umbrella, for example. And now you can do that simply through a click-through wizard experience. And I did also want to mention that in addition to the data connectors that were released as part of solutions, that we have continued to build out and expand our total number of data sources and connectors that are available out of the box in Azure Sentinel. And we're excited that that number has now reached over 100 data connectors that are available today. So making it super easy for you to bring in your Microsoft and your third-party data and to get value on top of that data through workbooks and analytic rules and other types of content. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Yoav, who's going to talk to you about one of the new solutions that we released and Azure Sentinel, which is designed to help you continuously monitor your SAP environments and respond to threats. So we're super excited. I think the SAP solution really exemplifies what the power and potential of solutions for Azure Sentinel. So excited to hand it over to Yoav. We'll share more about the SAP solution.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. So let's talk a bit about SAP. And of course, you are invited to learn more in our documentation, which is already available to you. So many of our customers approached us asking about how can they secure SAP, because on one hand, SAP is such a critical application in organizations where it is the data custodian and where financial processes, manufacturing processes and whatnot kind of being controlled, and hence any breach or any attack on those systems could have catastrophic consequences. We also know that it's very difficult to block attacks once an attacker is within an SAP system, and also because it is very common that security teams, security operation teams often do not have the visibility into what's happening within SAP systems. There are also the events within SAP systems are not correlated or well correlated with other security events from other data sources. And we saw the need to launch a new solution, a continuous threat monitoring solution for SAP with Azure Sentinel, which is about connecting to your SAP landscapes using the NetWeaver interface. I'll talk a bit about the details later on, and monitor all the different layers, including the natural layers that Sentinel monitors today, like the operating system and the infrastructure. But not only that, also monitor the business layer, the business transactions, the application layer of SAP, being able to detect threats from privilege escalation within SAP systems, unapproved changes, and leverage out-of-the-box detections that we provide, as well as, of course, bring your own detections and write your own queries and create your own logic to counter attacks in your specific workflows in your organization, as SAP is also a very custom product or infrastructure platform by nature. And of course, you can now correlate the SAP monitoring events with signals across the enterprise from your endpoint protection suites, from your databases, from storage, from networking devices, from other solutions, and so on. Looking at SAP as a data source, it is another data source to Sentinel. You have a connector that connects to SAP NetWeaver systems and helps you get the data in. We have a multitude of data sources. I will elaborate in a minute, and be able, of course, to use that data source like you use any other data source in Azure Sentinel. When it comes to that connector, what kind of data is available in Sentinel, then first this connector is deployed as a Docker container, so you can deploy it very in close proximity to your SAP system. It can be deployed on-prem, it can be deployed in other clouds, and of course, naturally, it can be deployed in Azure, and it connects to SAP using RFC and SOAP protocols, using NetWeaver, subcontrol, and delivers data to Sentinel, streams the data to Sentinel. And we're talking about rich sets of data, overall 15 different log sources, from the security audit log, the change documents where you can see exact details of operations carried and changes carried on the SAP platform, the spool log, the job log about running background jobs in SAP, and even changes to particular tables or all of the tables, so you can pick and choose tables with the table data logging. So the insights that you get from monitoring the system can be very vast, and they go very deep into the application layers of SAP. And of course, we also provide out-of-the-box detection, a multitude of detections. You can read about them more in our documentations, and we plan to continue and deliver more and more out-of-the-box security content, visualizations, and provide and make SAP security monitoring more accessible to security operation teams. So that's an example of how rich is the data sources. You can see the amount of logs that allow you to really monitor many of the business and application aspects of SAP. Looking at the richness of the detections with over 30 built-in analytic rules, and of course we are developing and plan to deliver more and more of that. So you can shorten your time to value, not just have the log sources and start to work with your SAP teams on building your own, but immediately start to get visibility to everything SAP related. And of course, because SAP systems are so custom, the detections rely on watch lists for configurations. So you can configure your detections in a way that will ensure that they're not too noisy. For example, if we have, if you can configure which of your systems is a production system, is a sandbox, and then of course we will not alert if somebody makes a debug operation on a development system, but we will raise an alert if your production system is being debugged, and that's something that can happen, within an SAP system. So that's an example of how you configure and fine-tune the solution for your specific organizational needs. And of course, provide visualizations using a workbook, and again, it's just the beginning of our plans. And giving that, I would like to hand over to Julian Gonzalez. Thank you very much for listening, and hope that you'll try the solution in your environment, in your organization, to get your feedbacks. Thank you very much.
Hey, Julian, you're probably on mute. You want to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, so I'll be talking about threat detection and hunting challenges. So, and some of the investments that we made in these recent releases. Modern environments generate a massive amount of noise. Visualizations obviously contributed to that with the level of log volume. At the same time, threats are becoming more sophisticated, taking more than 50 days to detect on average. And then analytics needs to be tuned to these. And analysts really need to be agile. What we mean by that is analysts need to be provided the right tools to respond to this ever-growing threats, sophisticated threats. So what's new? We invested in this, let us release several new features around customizing machine learning anomalies. These new customizable machine learning anomalies use out-of-the-box templates that can be tuned to your specific organization in a code-free experience. They create stronger detections that combine several. You can combine several of these into a single detection. These anomalies, and they speed up investigation and hunting by using these inquiries, since they are stored in your workspace, in your Azure Sentinel workspace. So these customizable Azure Sentinel's customizable anomaly models are tuned by our data science team, and they're trained for your data in your Sentinel workspace to minimize the benign positive rate and really provide this out-of-box value. So if your security analyst needs to tune them further, the process is simple and requires no machine learning. Analysts can use these anomalies to reduce the investigation and hunting time as well. And from a hunting perspective, the analysts can then focus their efforts on high-risk anomalies. And really, this enables them to use their time as effectively as possible on just the anomalies that represent the biggest risk to the organization. From a hunting perspective, the analysts can then focus on, from a incident response perspective, the analyst can then configure, schedule an alert or incident using an analytic rule. and then combine it with our logic apps automation. For example, can build a playbook that provides smart responses that can be triggered by a particular anomaly. A good example of this would be abnormal file access anomalies by a user. You could then add a logic app playbook to add that user to a watch list. So today there's 24 out-of-the-box anomaly types available. They're all in the analytics blade under the anomaly rule type, and we're continually developing more out-of-the-box anomaly models. These anomaly rules do not generate alerts. It's important to call out. The results are saved though in anomalies table within your Sentinel workspace. The volume is low, and while the volume is low, you can utilize these anomalies in the KQL for hunting and in workbooks, and even for schedule alerts and automation. These anomalies span across the kill chain. So today they cover 11 of 14 MITRE tactics. And these examples include, and it's not limited to, just to give you some insight, attempted brute force, suspicious logins, unusual mass downgrades, and the unusual mass downgrades of AIP or Azure Protection is what we'll be looking at in this example here. So the core principle of these anomalies is that they're not only low volume, but also completely customizable. So you can adjust the threshold between your organization. For this particular type of anomaly, this means that you have a mass downgrade of AIP labels. What that means is Azure Protection or Azure Information Protection, which is a service that provides labeling and protection of sensitive documents and data, such as emails, documents, and other data types. You can, anytime those are downgraded, that's obviously a level of concern if they're downgraded in mass. So what this provides is a detection, and not only that, it provides you the ability to adjust the threshold for this particular anomaly, so you can tune it to your organization and your context. In addition, in addition to the parameter settings, which I'll right here on your left, the parameters really depend on the type of anomaly. So in this case, for this mass downgrade anomaly, these particular patterns or parameters are specific to this particular anomaly type. In the results preview, you can see your results from this anomaly and compare it to the original, allowing you to do A/B testing for this current anomaly model. And the nice thing is you can run this default anomaly model and customize it in parallel for a time period on the same data. So you can adjust the parameters and threshold until you are satisfied that it's going to be beneficial anomaly, not just from the risk standpoint, but also from reducing the amount of noise in the system. And then you can replace the default anomaly model with this customized model. So we also improved the SOC hunting visibility with a new hunting dashboard to find threats more quickly and identify the hunting results in your environment, to run off hunting queries, select the subset, and then do a single-click execution of those, and to search or filter based on specific MITRE tactics, and also to pinpoint spikes in new activity using the result deltas. So it's essential to understand that threat hunting is not like other operational security activities. It's really a proactive measure, taking a hunt for attacks that weren't detected. So the current dashboard currently contains over 100 pre-built hunting queries based on real-world threats and incidents. And for this latest release and this hunting experience, we really focused on making it easier to execute these with a single click and mapping these attacks to the MITRE framework. So this is the single all-up hunting experience. You can run all queries in a single operation or single click. You can see the deltas, the patterns changing across different hotspots. And then you can also we added several techniques to the existing hunting queries, and then you can add rich filtering based on those MITRE attack tactics and techniques. And I think it's important to call out how the MITRE framework was useful as a useful tool on top of your hunting capabilities. We invested in these, labeling these queries with the MITRE techniques to assist the hunter analysts being able to build this conceptual model for the threat hunts. So essentially what it allows them to do is using these tactics and techniques, they can determine the type of tools that the attacker will be successful, and they can have like a logical framework by which they perform their threat hunt. So in addition to the threat hunting capabilities we released, we also have a new, what we call IP entity page. Now the IP entity page is the latest addition to the UEBA, Azure Sentinel's UEBA capabilities. It includes insights like a threat indicator data, network session information, host IP mappings for seen last seen. We also perform rich enrichment of the IP information to include geolocation and other information from our threat intelligence service. So on the left-hand side, you will see the left pane here with all the information regarding this in this particular example. And I'll start first with the first seen, last seen. Now this is this first seen, last seen of this particular IP. And this information is retained even as the earliest records age out. So the underlying event data may age, but this information is kept in the IP information and insights. Geolocation enrichment information is provided by the Threat Intelligence Service and displayed as well. And then a timeline shows you all the related detections and activities across the configurable timeline. So you can really drill in to the activities involving this particular IP address and gain valuable insights. In addition, we have connection information or insights for topping connections, both ingress and egress. And last, we surface any remote connections to and from with available threat intel. In this particular example, we don't have any threat intel, but if we did, it would show up on this page as well. All right, well, I'll turn it over to the next presenter. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. So I will start with sharing a little bit about this feature. I see that we're a little bit ahead of time, so I can have a few more minutes to touch on this feature. So I think that it's really clear that this feature is all about collaboration. And collaboration is something that is very necessary to any security team, to any SOC. It's something that is a big part of any SOC process. And collaboration has started taking an even bigger role in the past year, with analysts no longer being able to walk to the next room to collaborate on incidents, and instead having to collaborate on top of chat or video. And this is something that made it even more important to be able to collaborate more easily. Then the last thing that we see about collaboration is that collaboration is better when it happens on top of one centralized place. A lot of people have to go and work with different platforms, and that's something that causes many different problems. So when we started specifying this feature, we were looking for the main pain points around collaboration. We were looking for the main things that are missing right now and that are making collaboration harder. The first thing was a lot of manual processes. When there is a potential attack on your organization, time is an important factor, and you don't want to deal with many manual processes. You want things that can happen automatically to happen automatically and as fast as possible. The second challenge that we found out is the ability to archive collaboration, to archive the discussion that takes place on top of incidents. As I said before, sometimes on top of the same incident, people will collaborate on many different platforms. It can be email, it can be Teams, it can be video, and not having this information archived, making it hard to circle back to it and understand what happened. The third challenge is the ability to share files. It can be evidence, it can be any type of file that has to do with the incident. That's something that we found out as a need. The ability to share those files securely is something that we wanted to address too. Then the last thing is something that is maybe more common in different companies than other, but that's working with external teams, working with teams that are not in your organization, that are not under your tenants. Maybe sometimes they don't have permissions to Sentinel events, so having the ability to work with them in an easy way on the same platform. Now, with those challenges and with the soaring success of teams, having a joint workflow on top of Sentinel and Teams is something that we saw as very natural. And this is why we came up with this very necessary feature. It includes different parts, different components. The first thing is just the ability to create a team, the ability to, within one click, just open a team for a certain incident, having all the relevant information about this incident being available in this team. The second part is the ability to decide which people will be automatically added to this team, decide which are the people that you maybe escalate this incident to, or you just want to consult with. And the last part is the ability to save that information, to save those discussion on top of the incident, to just have them archived automatically upon the incident closure. Now we'll go straight to the demo to think it will maybe make this a little bit more clear. So that's the incident blade where you'll see many times analysts triaging incidents. And in cases where an analyst runs into an incident that looks suspicious, maybe he or she wants to escalate them, maybe they want to just consult with other people on this incident, what they can do right now is to click on them and to have this actions button. This new button includes different actions that can be taken in regards to this incident. One of them is the create team option. All of those actions are also available when right-clicking on the specific incident. Now, once choosing to create a team, this panel opens up. Here you can customize the team name. We suggest this default name, but you can go ahead and change it to whatever works for your organization. You can also customize the team's description if that's something that you like. But most importantly, you can customize and choose which people will be automatically added to this team. These people can be under a certain AAD group that you can search and add to this team. And the beautiful thing here is that you can even have different groups added to this team, and you can favorite the teams that you work with most closely. So you don't have to search for the same team over and over again. You can just find the team that you work with, favorite it, then whenever you choose to create a team, this team will show up, and you can create whether to delete it or to keep it. And that's something that we created in order to minimize the time it takes to escalate or to collaborate. After clicking on the Create Team button, you have the incident team link added to the incident panel, being very accessible and just right there for you whenever you want to circle back to it, or if you have shifts that are changing and you want different people to have access to this team, so the link is always there. And when clicking on the link, you can see the team itself. The team has different tabs, and I will go through them really quickly right now. The first one is the post tab, a tab that we have in every team where discussions take place. The second tab is the files tab, where you can find all of the files that were appended to the conversation. The third tab is the wiki tab that will be removed, so I'll skip on it. The next tab is the incident page, which is basically Sentinel within Teams. You have the full incident page right in Teams, which minimizes the need for context switches. You don't need to go back and forth from Teams to Sentinel. You have the information that you need available, and it's also actionable. So you can also change the status of the incident. You can add comments. You can do everything that you can do on top of Sentinel, just in Teams. The last tab is the OneNote tab, which is more of a dynamic tab. It's a tab where you can track the checklists for this investigation. It's a tab where you can have maybe your remediation steps available. It's a dynamic tab that you can do basically whatever works the best for you. Then, like any other team, you can choose to add more tabs. You can make more tabs. You can maybe add an Excel sheet that you work with. You can maybe add any tab of the hundreds of applications that Teams is integrated with. Now, one thing that we noticed is that over time, one thing that can happen is that there are a lot of teams created. Over time, you don't want to have your teams list full with just different incidents. So what we did is that whenever the incident is closed, the Teams is archived automatically too, which means that the data that is in the different channels and on top of this team will always be available, but the team won't show up in your Teams list. And that's a really good solution for that, because the incident link for the Teams link, for example, will still take you to this archive team, but you don't have to see it every day in your list. The data there will be available in a read-only mode, but you can always just restore this team and have writing permissions to. And whenever you reopen the incident, if you have a new alert added to it or anything, the team will also be restored, and you will be able to go back to the investigation from where you left off. And I think that that's the last part, and you're more than welcome to find the Teams blog to read more about it. There's a lot of information in our documentation too, and I will defer to Sarah to continue the session.
Thank you, Liat. That concludes the formal presentation that we had. I believe we have a bit of time now that we could take some questions.
Yeah, most of the questions were answered already by the team, but let's see. There's a couple that just came in. Will ever be possible to manually combine multiple incidents into a single incident?
This is definitely something that we're looking into. I can say also from the Teams context that we're also looking into having multiple incidents under the same team, which will also allow to investigate them together, to investigate different incidents. But we're also looking into the just adding incidents feature to. There aren't strict time scopes at the moment.
Thank you, Liat. There's another one. Privileged Azure AD accounts don't get Teams license in our organization, and this breaks the feature that you were showing earlier. How do I use this without compromising or paying for something we don't want?
So this feature, because it is based on creation of a team, can't be enabled without Teams creation permission. So that's something that will be a little bit more difficult to work around. But maybe we can take it offline and look into other solutions that are not team-based.
Great, thank you. And I think this last one that came in was answered earlier. This is the one. Can these new AI detection rules be managed and configured through Terraform? If somebody from the team can answer this one, I know one of you already replied.
Yeah, this is Sharon. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sharon, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So currently those anomaly rules are managed on the analytics spread. You can enable, disable, delete, configure them. I would like to know why you need to manage them through Terraform, and then we can go from there. Could you, if you cannot tell the details here, maybe we can sync offline. You can send an email to us.
Yes, and also to reach out the Sentinel team, the best way, in addition to the email, where you actually have a lots of engineers that's the tech community forum. So if you go to that will be aka.ms/Azure Sentinel community, and there's a link already published out there. So let's see here. How this Teams integration, how the team integration is going to work for the MSSP? I guess that's a question.
So as of right now, the list of AAD groups that you can add from Sentinel, the AAD groups that you can choose to automatically be added to the team are only the AAD groups that are under your organizations. But if you go to, if you create a team just with yourself, basically, on top of Microsoft Teams, you can add members that are from outside of your organization. You can add external users and enjoy the same experience, just not the part that includes the automatic addition. We are looking into including that in later stages, but as of now, it doesn't apply to people who are outside of the organization. We also enable this feature from a, if I'm not mistaken, from a cross workspace view. So that's another thing that is good for MSSPs.
Great, thank you. Carissa, I noticed there was somebody raising a question regarding the registration link for tomorrow's. I'm going to paste it here, and hopefully that will work, because sometimes there can be and let me actually see if that's working. So it's working for me, and please try this last post of mine here to tomorrow's webinar. And let's just see if there's more coming in. Okay, these were a bunch of Teams related integration that Liat captured here. Well, I think this will do it. Well, thank you very much, Sarah, Yoav, Liat, and Julian for this excellent presentation. And thank you also for the rest of the team who helped in the background answering all these incoming questions. Well, I would like to remind the listeners that the best way to ensure that you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements, please to visit our landing page at aka.ms/security community. And while you're there, you'll find the easy ways to navigate and find the resources and learning content relevant to our security products and their communities. And A good start would be by browsing through the bite-sized product videos that we have out there, including Ninja trainings, recordings of the past webinars, GitHub communities, and more. Also, we would love to hear your feedback on how we can improve on these webinars. So please take a minute submitting your feedback at aka.ms/security webinar feedback. Now, in case we missed to answer your question, or if you have additional questions, again, please visit the Azure Sentinel forum at aka.ms/Azure Sentinel community. I want to thank all of you for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. So we hope to see you next time. Goodbye.